Welcome to the second Python tutorial. So here we have the previous code that was calculating change on a taxifier. We want to expand it because there are problems here with this code. Let me explain problem number one that we have. So if someone pays an amount that is less than 12 rand, they don't deserve a change. Or if they pay exactly 12 rand, they don't deserve a change. And our application in such cases will try to misbehave. So let's try to calculate and see what will happen. Let's run it for the first time and see what will happen before we make any modifications. So let's say the person pays 10 rand instead of an amount that is greater than 12 rand. Then saying the change is -2. Mathematically, it makes sense. But logically, in real life, doesn't make sense to have a change of -2 rand. Here it was supposed to say your amount is short, like we must pay 2 rand more to qualify to take the tax, not to say the program calculates the change even if the money is less than the required amount for taxify. So to solve that, there is a Python control structure or Python if-else statements. So Python if-else statements, they work like this. Let's expand the description. Calculate taxify if the amount paid is, let's write enough and make it things simple. If the amount that you paid is enough for you to take a tax, then we can calculate the change. Okay, so what we are going to do here, before we calculate this, okay, we agree that the taxify is still 12 rand. The amount to be paid will still come from the user. And the change, we should calculate it only if the money is enough to take the tax. So how are we going to achieve that? We want Python to say if this amount is enough, then calculate the change. But if the amount paid is not enough, then it should not calculate the change. It must tell the user that the amount is not enough. Now we'll have a reusable program that works in all the scenarios. So what we are going to do here, click enter here, and in English you would say if the amount paid is enough, something like this, then this means then in Python, like you just write colon, calculate the change. So if you want to calculate the change only if the amount is enough, now there is a Python syntax or Python order of writing. If this must happen only when this condition is true, like the money is enough, true, then we calculate. We must put it as a child of this if. How do we do that? We put it here, not at the beginning of the line, but under this one. That means this is a child of this. We must check this first before we do this. That's why this is indented slightly to this point. So indentation, you can put 4 spaces, or you can click tab on your computer. Then when the code is like this, this means this line will execute if this condition is met. And then we calculate, and then we have our change. So what happens if the money is not enough? Let's do another one. Else, what you write here will run when this condition is false. And you say if it's not happening, else do this. So here we are going to print the amount you paid is not enough. All right, so now we can tell the user that the amount that they paid is not enough if this condition is not met. So if here it is true, this is going to be printed, else this is going to be printed. So here mathematically in English it makes sense, but in Python and mathematical it doesn't make sense. How do we know that the amount is enough? It must be greater than the amount required. So greater than, we can write it mathematical, like greater, or it can be the same as the taxifier, is still fine. You can calculate there. So we're saying the amount that you paid must be greater or equals to the taxifier. Now we have a fine, a perfect condition, and then what we can do now, we can print the change, but there is another big problem. This change must only be printed when the money is enough, if this condition is true. So we take it out of here and we put it here. So what will happen now? It will calculate the change if the money you paid is enough and print the change. Otherwise it will say the money you paid is not enough. Then we can save, run, and see. Let's pay 2 rand. Oh, there is another big problem here. It's complaining about the issue again of saying this is a mathematical operation. It must work on 2 numbers, not on a string and an integer. How do we solve that? We change this amount to be paid to be a number like this. Save again, run. Okay, let's pay 2 rand. Now it's saying the money you paid is not enough. Let's clear the screen so that we can have a nice play there. We run again. We pay 100 rand. Then our change is 88 rand. We run again. We pay 11 rand 50. We have another problem that we will explain later. So an integer, int is a number that doesn't have a comma. Once you pay money that has a comma, you run into a problem. So how do we solve that? We must find a way of accommodating numbers with commas, because money, someone can pay 150, someone can pay 20 and 20 or something like that. So what we do now, instead of saying this must be an integer, we float it, we make it a float. A float is a number with a comma in Python. We make this one a float as well. And then let's clear here. And we run. Now we pay 11 rand 50. The amount you paid is not enough. We run again. We pay 20 rand 20. The change is 8 rand 20. Something of that nature. Mathematical, I don't know is correct or not, but it's happening with the commas. So everything works now with the commas. So what I was trying to do here is to create some problems and solve them in Python. Create a code that can work in any given condition and still do what you want to do. Thank you.